We play and call it work.
MiniWarGamer Steve, Leland, and Quirk here from MiniWarGaming.com. And we're going to talk about power creep today in today's reroll. Our reroll is a 30-minute little discussion. Same old discussions we have every day in the back office, just recording them for you guys. So you guys can weigh in and tell us whose ideas are just crazy, whose are awesome, and we're all a little bit of both, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
So right now we're starting with the power creep discussion. It sort of came up from
TAO releases.
That's the long and short of it. It's TAO releases.
Yeah.
So we've seen some, a bunch of codexes recently. Necrons and Eldar being among the worst offenders.
And I think...
Wait, time out. What armies do you play?
Dark Eldar.
I think the most interesting thing is, as well, we've seen a weird disparity of power creep as well. Where traditionally we used to see each codex sort of trump the next one out. Mm-hmm. We sort of saw that early on with Necrons and Eldar, but then we started seeing, for the most part, like Space Marines and Dark Angels, they were actually a little bit more down to earth,
right?
For lack of anything else.
Khorne Demonkin.
Even Khorne Demonkin. I mean, like all these lists do have powerful things in them, but they don't seem to have that one thing that everyone rails on. They don't have their Decurion. They don't have their deflamers or jet bike spam or something like that. Now,
forgot about the deflamers.
Yeah, exactly, the deflamers. And now we're seeing TAO. TAO are coming out.
So, I mean, we talked about this a lot, actually, how we worried about what's going to happen with TAO. Because for Necrons, what we saw for them, and they were the first big offender, right? Right, okay. What we saw for them was everything got minor or big buffs and point decreases or the same. They went over to Eldar. We had minor buffs across the board, maybe except for the Shining Spears, but minor buffs across the board and points the same or decrease. Khorne Demonkin just kind of changed it up completely. It was a different thing altogether. So we have this bit of a precedent of powerful armies getting a little bit of a buff and points staying the same or decrease that I got kind of worried about TAO. They aren't the worst offender.
Well, they were a big top tier list for a lot of 6th edition and even for a lot of 7th edition. But they've been slowly crawling back down the power creep. Yeah,
so it was a thing of like, our marker lights still going to be what they were. We were talking about that a lot. Are marker lights going to change? Are they going to stay the same? What's going to get stronger? What's going to get? But then rumors are not changing?
Yeah, now it sounds like the TAO book, and I'm sure a lot of you have seen these rumors as well. It sounds like the book itself is going to get some minor updates, and it's going to compile the rules from the new Warzone Damocles, or the Damocles campaign book that's coming out.
How do you feel about that?
I actually really like that.
I agree.
This Games Workshop did something similar with this when they did the Shield of Baal campaign, like the Leviathan campaign with the Tyranids and the Blood Angels last year.
That's right, I forgot about that.
And I really like that. I thought that was a great way that they can sort of plug holes in codexes where they currently exist, give them a little bit of a shot in the arm, give them some new life. For a little while we did see that with Tyranids. And then people started playing with the Tyranids and realized, well, nuts.
Still not the greatest.
Tyrannocytes were the big thing.
But they got some nice new models, as did TAO. So this whole thing is like the exact Tyrannid thing. I actually didn't realize that.
Yeah, it's very similar, and I love this methodology, and I want to see more of it, to be completely honest.
Yeah,
I like this a lot more than the single splash release for a month. You see everything for a single army come out. I like this idea more because TAO are getting a little bit of something. The Raven Guard are getting a little bit of something, and the White Scars are getting a little bit of something. They're all
rightfully so.
Yeah, of course it's all different on what they're getting. Like Raven Guard, they got that. I love that set, by the way. I love the captain and all that sort of stuff.
Absolutely.
But they're getting some formations out of the campaign.
Formations and cards. Yeah, great things to have.
White Scars, I believe, are getting the same thing: formations and cards. And
so now it feels like you're playing the White Scars or the Raven instead of you're playing Space Marines.
Raven Guard.
Raven Guard. Instead of painting regular Space Marines a different color and calling them this chapter.
Yeah.
I mean, the chapter tactics were nice little whatever, but I like the more formations and the cards and all this kind of stuff.
Definitely.
What I was going to say is with the power creep and everything that you guys have been saying, the way it kind of sounded was you're saying Necrons got a crazy buff. But they got a new codex.
And they didn't need it either.
No, they didn't need it.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that they got a new codex, which came with a lot of nice new stuff. Then Eldar got a new codex with a bunch of nice new stuff. Is that correct?
Model-wise, you mean?
Yeah.
Neither got anything.
No. I mean,
they got some new models, new sculpts, and whatnot. But
no, I'm saying they got a new codex. It wasn't like, say, for example, TAO got the Enclave supplement, or Eldar got the Harlequin supplement. There's not the supplements that came out. It was like a brand new codex.
Oh
Right?
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. It was
Yes.
a brand new codex where they completely redid the points values for so many units. A lot of units got tweaking here and there, be it for their stat profiles or what they could do. Like for instance, like the big one for the Necrons really came down to the formations.
Yeah.
The Decurion, the change to reanimation protocols.
That's the other one.
That
the
was
change to
massive.
reanimation was a huge buff.
Yeah, that was massive, and to the point that I mean, the fact that we're still talking about it today,
Yep.
and it's been what, 9 months?
Well, I think not only us, but much of the internet. And by internet, I mean you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You guys, it's still, when something comes out, it still gets compared to Necrons. How's it going to handle to Necrons? This sounds really. I'm talking with Matt the other day. Wow, that's some crazy Tau stuff. I wonder how they do against Necrons.
Yeah.
We keep comparing them back to there.
And it's because Necrons, their buffs made them so cheap and so durable.
Too cheap,
That, and I've said this before, so people can attest to this. It feels like a little victory whenever you can kill a single warrior.
Right.
Yeah.
I can't even count how many times in a battle report where one warrior or one tomb blade goes down and my opponent's, yes! And I'm
Yeah.
like, that was 20 points, dude. I'm sorry.
And I mean, you look at the Eldar, and the Eldar have a very powerful set of tools available
Yeah.
to them, but they don't feel as crushing because you can still, if you can shoot them, you can kill them.
The thing with the Eldar is you can actually play them weaker, balanced, fluffier, different ways. Where Necrons, you can't tone down your own reanimation.
No, you were toning down quite a bit for
I
a couple.
tried.
Yeah, and,
Yeah.
and you were still able to just sort of march across the table.
Yeah, it was too cheap.
And like I said, it comes back to this idea that a lot of these other powerful armies, if you can shoot them, you can feel like you're doing
Yeah.
something. Whereas with Necrons, you can shoot them, and it doesn't feel like you're doing anything to them.
It's a one-sided game.
Yeah. So we should actually discuss what we're seeing in the power creep for Tau at this point. Like, obviously, at this point, everyone's familiar with the Forge World Supremacy armor. Everyone should be familiar with the Storm Surge. Everyone should be...
You're saying everyone should be. I think we should still kind of cover a little bit of what they are.
Fair
For
enough.
those
Okay,
who-
yeah, no, fair
For
enough.
those who don't, or the people who don't get to play Tau regularly, we should at least explain a little bit of what they're going to be looking at or what we're talking about, and specifically, starting off just with the Tau Supremacy armor. Like, that thing's-
Which one's Supremacy?
That's the Forge World.
That's Forge World?
the one
Okay.
that hurt your feelings yesterday.
Yeah.
Oh, no spoilers on that. No spoilers, no spoilers.
You guys will like that.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, so the Supremacy armor. The big Forge World Gargantuan guy,
Now,
which is...
correct me if I'm wrong, but are they not still experimental rules?
No.
No, they're not.
No, they are not.
I didn't see
Oh,
the
no.
experimental
There's
sticker
no
on
stamp.
it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So go ahead,
So
take it.
it's kind of interesting. Quirk and I actually had a chance to sort of see what it can do the other day. It's really interesting. I mean, it's got the single shot D cannon, which is a strength 7 blast template, which in and of itself is kind of cool
Yep.
on its
Yep.
own. Once you factor in marker lights, it's going to become just disgusting.
Yep.
It's also got at least the variant we were running had
The 3 assault or heavy
Basically
3.
6 strength, live cannon shots.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it has two profiles. One is, I think, a strength 6 or strength 7, 6-shot AP4.
Yeah, and there's
type
2
thing.
of them on this thing.
Yeah, there's 2 of them. And then there's a strength 9 AP3 heavy 3 shot. And it's...
For starters, the fact that you get 2 of them at heavy 3, so you're firing 6 of these strength 9s, there's not a lot that can stand up to that.
Oh, yeah.
Like, no, there's
Armor-
not much.
Armor 14 is about it.
Yeah, and even then, it's still like 5s will glance, 6s will pen. That's still a threat there.
Oh,
and
yeah.
with the number of shots you're firing, if all of them hit, then averages you're getting at least 1 glance, 1 pen with 6
Definitely.
shots.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's higher than average ballistic skill for a Tau. It is, points-wise, dirt cheap for what you get.
600 points.
Yeah, I mean, now it has
I'm gonna say we're also like kind of avoiding the most awesome thing it has, and that's that shield.
that's what's
Yeah, so
That's
it's
disgusting.
Yeah, it's got a 5-up invulnerable save, which becomes a 4-up when you're shot, which in and of
from
itself,
all arcs. So I mean,
Yep.
Yeah, so for a gargantuan creature to have that, that's pretty cool because I mean it's hard for gargantuans to get cover saves.
toughness 9 or 10.
I want to say 9.
I think it was 9.
I think it was 9. But the really cool thing about this, it has the ability to shrug off dead blows
It has
from
a
D weapons.
Yeah, you hit it with a destroyer hit and roll a 6, and it's like, cool.
Now it can only do it once per turn.
Once per game.
Sorry, was it once per game?
Once
I thought
per
it was once
game.
per turn because I
And
thought
it
the shield
loses
comes
in-
back the next turn.
No, it loses it.
It loses its invulnerable for the rest of the turn as well, the second that happens. Now, I mean, Matthew and Dave did a whole review on this model and a bunch of who it wins to play it out. So we can say we know it has a weakness against combat, as Tau should
Oh, yeah.
and do. It has just a great amount of firepower for the points you pay for it.
It also has the
super survivable for the points you pay for it.
It has those guns that are designed specifically for Overwatch.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
that's right too. Some missile launchers and burst cannons.
But yeah, so the idea that we're getting at here is for 600 points, it's a rather solid 600 point gargantuan
Absolutely,
creature.
yep.
I mean, it doesn't have the D output that say a Wraith Knight or a proper Imperial Titan have.
Yep.
And when I say Titan, I don't mean the Night Titans. I
No,
mean
no,
like
no.
the proper,
Yeah.
Like Warhounds.
Warhounds or Reaver Titans and whatnot. But it gives a really solid bit of punch for the Tau.
Yeah.
Now, just a comparison here really quick, because we know that it can take out some bigger things.
Yes.
Points comparison to, say, a Warhound.
It's a little bit cheaper.
A little bit cheaper.
Yeah.
Points
Warhound, I believe, is
comparison to a Harrower. Or
Hierophant?
Hierophant, thank
The
you.
Hierophant is comparable defensively without their shield, but it's 400 points more for like none of the firepower.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's
Tyranids
it's
really-
got 12 strength 10 shots.
I think it's got
Yeah,
you're
it's
right,
got 12.
yeah,
It's
you're
It's got
right.
12. It's got
Yep.
2 of the guns.
But yeah, the Hierophant is definitely a relic of
Yeah.
the older style of Apocalypse.
And the hero duel as well too. Like Tyranids are like tower out monster screeching the Tyranids
Yeah,
in every
which-
way.
Yeah.
So
And-
they've got this. Tau have now got this amazing thing that costs next to nothing, and every other faction is going, "Where's mine?"
Well, the thing is though, let's not say that they don't deserve it. Like everything should have their big beastie gargantuan or forge-rolled model. They got theirs now.
Orcs.
Okay, I'm sorry, buddy. We can get there, but yeah, that. How do you? Sorry. How do you play Tau? I don't think you really.
I
can.
don't.
And I think though what you're saying is like, yeah, every army deserves these things, but we're starting to see the Tau become the role of shooty monstrous creatures.
I find it curious that the 3 armies that were considered top tier last edition or even a year ago, Necron, Zelda, and Tau, got all the buffs,
are the ones seeing all the love right now.
all the love.
Yeah. Now,
Now, Khorne Demon King got in there, so there's a little bit outside the
now
little.
just because I don't know, was Khorne Demonkin a codex in itself, or was it a supplement?
It's a codex.
It's a codex in
Yeah, it's a
itself.
codex
Okay.
all on its own.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it's actually surprisingly good, but it's not as good as the big 3.
no, definitely not.
So we've covered the supremacy armor. Now they've also got, is it the tidal wall, or
Yeah, the tide wall.
the tide wall
Yeah,
thing.
the tide wall is actually the thing that kind of prompted my thoughts on power creep.
Yeah. What is this thing?
okay?
It's
For starters, just to cover this right off the bat, it counts as battlefield debris,
yeah,
so you can't target it.
yeah. So it means it's not a fortification in,
Now,
in the traditional.
we'll talk
sense.
about it a bit, and we'll let you know as well. Matthew, the time we're filming this show, Matthew and Dave are in the other studio. Well, she's not doing it anymore. They're doing it tomorrow. They're actually filming a review on it,
Yes.
on the title wall, and doing some who and wins with it. I'm assuming.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
We're
you're
not
gonna
gonna go into
you'll
too
see
much depth.
you'll see a larger in-depth thing where they go through.
But yeah, you can
certain tactics and
definitely watch that and find out what we're talking about here. If you need to pause this video, go to that
definitely.
one, and yeah, go ahead on this thing because this thing looks oddly awesome. But maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's nothing.
It's really cool. So the first thing, it's 290 points.
That's a big chunk of points.
So it
when you
is
consider what it
pricey.
does, it's again you're like, what? Where's mine?
But it can't be destroyed, right? 'Cause you can't
Nope,
target it.
it's battlefield debris. You can't get rid of it.
Think of it this way: it's essentially an Aegis defense line with a lot of really cool special rules.
You know what would be awesome if you could take an Aegis Defense Life and move it 6 inches every turn,
Yep.
which you can with this.
So Pass can just ride it forward.
Yes. Any model that can fit on top of it can ride it, and it travels 6 inches in the movement phase. Any units that are on top of it count as remaining stationary.
That's scary.
Yeah. So it means all those marker lights can still advance 6 inches without being forced to snap fire.
Broadsides.
Broadsides as well.
Yeah.
Which
Now remember,
is
it has to be
really
able to fit on the base. So it's an area about.
Okay.
It's not a huge
Okay,
area, so you
sniper
can't
drones.
you can't fit larger things on it, but you can still fit stuff on there that will benefit from remaining stationary.
I think we can say it's a buff to their shooting, and they didn't need a buff to their shooting.
Now here's where it gets ridiculous.
There's more.
There's
Oh, yeah.
more.
So I believe it's just Tau, but somebody can fact check me on this one. In the shooting phase, any like occupying Tau units on it can reroll once in the shooting phase.
Okay, we did that too.
It gets even better.
Yep.
If they make a cover save for anything shooting at them in cover, you roll the dice. I think it's on a 5+.
I think a 6 actually.
On a 6, okay. That shot reflects back and hits whoever shot it. Now, say for example, it was a vehicle shooting at you, it counts as a glancing hit.
Well, it's worse than just hit. It's actually it causes a wound.
Sorry, it causes a wound.
Yeah,
yes.
you don't have to roll for wound. Now, this is something that Lee actually brought to my attention. A lot of the other stuff that reflects shots usually says it reflects a shot at the same strength and AP as the shot being at it. In the way the tidal wall is written, at least in the rules that came with the tide wall itself, it reflects the shot, causes a wound at the AP of the shot.
But not how about armor?
Armor, automatic glancing hit.
Glancing, it might be a glancing or penetrating.
Automatic glancing.
Is it just automatic?
Automatic
glancing?
glance, yeah.
So
But still,
you
hurricane,
can glance your own rhino against with a hurricane bolter.
that sounds awesome.
Yeah, a land raider can be killed by its own hurricane bolter. And it's the loss of that one particular thing, saying a hit with the strength and AP of the shot. Just adding that in, and it's nowhere near as frightening, basically.
So I love Games Workshop. Are they getting worse at writing rules?
I don't want to get into that. I think I'm not a rules writer.
Fair enough.
I go back to the same argument I say every time.
That's fair.
Games Workshop is a miniatures company.
This is why I hate you so much.
But and that's just some elements of the shield wall itself. There's also like a little drone bastion thing that it gets as well.
It also has a twin-linked railgun.
That only Tau can fire. So even as an Imperial player, for instance, you can't take the tide wall and then fire the rail cannon.
So we got a twin-linked rail cannon that we have no way of removing from the battlefield?
Yep.
Can we not target the rail cannon?
Well, that's something I have to look up because I don't know if it counts.
It might count as a gun
weapon.
emplacement, yeah.
Yeah, if it counts
It
as a
might.
gun emplacement,
It
then
is a separate piece in the kit, so you might be able to treat it as that.
Yeah.
But the
Okay.
actual fortification itself, the walls, are treated as.
Well, that's
battlefield
something
debris.
that's going to make me watch their review. They're in the other studio. Their review and their who to win to see how that works because...
Yeah, because if it's an emplacement, I mean, toughness 7, 2 wounds, armor 3, it's not as daunting to take it out. Yeah.
Now, I've seen a lot of conversation about, the fact that it can move around and all that kind of stuff is going to be a big problem. Well, the thing is I've seen it now. It's pretty massive.
It is.
Now, not everybody has to train up the way we do, but it's not going to move around our tables at all.
The thing is, it can move 6. It can't rearrange its formation, so you can set it up in different patterns. Like you can make it into an L, you can make it into a line, all that. It
But
has
that's
to
in your deployment zone.
in your deployment zone, yes,
Oh, yeah.
but it has to remain in that same formation when it moves. So you can theoretically, if you're playing on one of the buildings that we do, if you set up like a city thing, it can turn sideways and kind of make its way down the streets.
Okay.
So it can do that, but again, it's like trying to put a bus through a bike lane.
The way we set up our train, I don't think it should be an issue unless we're intentionally making the
No.
board set up for it,
Well,
which we could do for fun. We probably will.
Generally
at least
speaking,
once.
I don't think the movement is going to be the biggest offender.
It's the extra,
at the
because
time.
how often they just sit in the gun and shoot, right? I mean,
Well, exactly. I mean, why, aside from the new breacher kits, why do Tau want to get closer?
Yeah.
Is the big thing.
okay, so Tau, if the codex is not changing, other than the added units, it's still a buff.
It's definitely still a buff. Now, go ahead.
Going back into the power creep thing, can you see this majorly affecting Tau against any other army? Let's start off with the big dog here, Necrons.
Okay,
Can that
so-
affect Necrons a lot?
I can't recall. I've played Tau with my Necrons a handful of times. I want to say I won all those games. I'm not positive. I can say that I've had to try harder in those games than anything else with the Necrons because Tau can do enough firepower to kill the Necrons. Yeah. So yeah, they're not. It's not an auto win for the Necrons, but I think the Necrons do have a bit of an advantage with their 2 saves. But no, I Necrons. Okay, if I'm already almost struggling with Tau, then this should make it even better, even harder for them. But I'm not rooting. Actually, I find it oddly enough that the hardest thing for my Necrons to defeat is Tyranids. I personally can't handle monstrous creatures. No high strength weaponry and no AP. I just don't roll enough 6s for the wound.
And what would you consider to be something that Tau there's no chance for Tau right now? 'Cause,
Against? What are they going to munch Tau up every time? I don't know.
Drop out assaults with flamers, I think, are going to be the big thing.
What their armor's for?
Yeah.
Purifier spam and drop odds.
Purifier spam will do the
Yep.
trick. Because with the cleansing flame, you're ignoring cover.
Yeah,
Your
absolutely.
incinerators, strength 6, AP 4, ignoring cover.
And Tau don't have any way of stopping a Psyker. Like with the...
Aside from their
no
one
added
touch dice.
dice.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there
you
you
don't
go.
have major
I mean, every
anti-Psyker.
army has their weakness. My Dark Eldar, I don't think I ever want to play against Tau with them. I don't think they can survive.
Well, they have to do because the Black Sun filters. And they ignore all the...
The marker lights.
Oh, the marker lights.
I was really hoping that the marker lights would change or would tweak how they would work. I think we discussed this. I was hoping marker lights would change where they wouldn't ignore cover or be a little less effective.
Now, in all fairness, we haven't seen the final rules yet. They might have
Absolutely.
tweaked
Speculation and rumor.
But as of right now, I think it's a safe assumption to say that we likely will not see a change to it. And I think by the time this video gets out there, I think the books are going to be available, so people will be able to know
They come
right
out this
away.
weekend?
I think so.
Okay, so
I
yeah.
think they either went up for pre-order last week or they go up for pre-order this weekend, but I think they might have gone up last week.
Well, if we're drastically wrong with anything we say here, in our next episode we'll readdress
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because we're actually doing this a couple days before the typical Saturday release
Yeah,
stuff, right?
yeah.
Now, there's another element of Tau that I want to get to that's been circulating around. Their new formations. I haven't seen a full details of it, but the one thing that sticks out, and we were discussing this the other day, coordinated fire.
That sounds absolutely scary.
Now, have you seen this one yet?
No,
Coordinated
enlighten me.
Okay, so coordinated fire is a special ability that you get when you take this formation. It's like a Decurion style formation.
Okay.
The whole idea is that you can have multiple units in the Tau army fire as though they're one unit. Like they resolve their firing as though they're one unit. So this has caused some arguments and contention online. There's some arguments out there, and right now I'm going to say there's some strong arguments for the way this is worded, that something like a Buffmander is going to impose a lot of special rules on all the units firing. Now, there's arguments against it as well, but like I said, we've discussed in the office, and we're all kind of leaning towards the one argument for Buffmander being a little bit of a stronger one.
No, none of us want it to be the case.
No,
None of us
absolutely
want
not.
it, but the way we're looking at it looks like it is what it is.
Yeah, we're not really seeing.
We're not
arguments.
sure yet, but
So now, where this is devastating is Buffmander can do things like twin linking weapons, split fire, ignores cover. So pretty big deals. Now the other thing about this, about coordinated fire, is if you're coordinating with 3 or more units, you get +1 ballistic skill. So now you're looking at ballistic skill 4 total.
Now,
which
with the coordinated fire, if it says they're treated as the same unit firing.
they resolve shooting as if they were a single unit.
So that means that all 3 units then can benefit from one marker light.
That's the final part of it right there. It specifically states that if you're using coordinated fire, they all benefit from a single marker light. So if you're firing at a unit that only has, say, 3 marker lights, you're no longer saying, okay, well, you know,
I'm going to use 2 for this unit, the 1 remaining for this unit. No,
Yeah.
I'm going to use all 3 for all 3. That's gross.
Yeah. And it creates a hyper efficient use of marker lights.
what is the restrictions, the caveat? How do you use this combined shooting ability?
Well, like I said, I haven't looked into the full details of the actual formation itself. I wanted to look into the coordinated fire.
Yeah.
So there's obviously the restrictions that you're going to have to take whatever this formation requires. So obviously there might be suboptimal units being.
There has been a lot of what we call attacks, I guess.
Yeah.
And a lot of the really good stuff.
So,
the
like,
Necrons didn't get it, but
Yeah, so like I haven't looked into it, but you might be forced to take Vespid, for instance.
okay. So
But at the same time, I mean, there's so many other good things that Tau can take as well.
it'll most likely be a pretty good thing, and honestly, it should be. I mean, nobody wants to see one-sided games, but I mean, more options is fun.
Well, and that actually brings us back to the crux of what we're discussing with the
Yeah.
power creep. Are we starting to get into a position where we have a handful of armies that are creating one-sided games unless you're playing those armies?
I think player skill and army choice actually does matter hugely. Just because you play Necrons doesn't mean you win.
Oh, okay, so player choice and player skill. So Dark Elder versus the Grey Knights and Drop Pods.
Okay,
But that's kind of what I'm getting at, though. I mean,
Well, again, this is the thing that we kind of have an advantage here is that we don't do tournament style stuff where we place
that is true.
handfuls of armies that everybody's built to their own prerequisite. It's we know ahead of time that I'm going to be playing orcs and my opponent will be playing blood angels. That being said, I normally don't tailor a list. I know none of us really tailor a list. It's just like, okay, well, I'll be playing blood angels, so I can
all my
set up.
lists are all comers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we have our all-comers list. We set the table to accommodate lists and things like that.
And
so if
quite
we're-
often we do blind list building.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Whereas what you guys are talking about is very much a 2 people that play each other on a regular basis, bringing their A games with the optimal lists.
Then
so
when you see,
that's when you start to see one army has a major advantage. Where if I'm playing orcs all the time and Steve's playing Tau, 9 games out of 10, Steve's going to win before I even get to roll an attack die. In most cases, because he can gun me down.
if we're at similar skill level.
Exactly. Whereas if you go to a tournament and say we were to bring our all-comers list, we might be able to have no trouble taking on an Ultramarine army. But then we face someone who brought Grey Knights and drop pods, and we get absolutely wrecked. And then we go and play someone who's been playing NIDS for 15 years and absolutely loves them, but built them fluffy. So we have a fun game there, and that's kind of how we get it. But what we're talking about right now is more of a creep of
for me, and everybody interprets things a little bit differently. For me, what I think is really powerful is what you can, an army you can create an all-comers list, something you can take to a tournament to, and it's going to do well against everything. Necrons are one of those, Eldar are one of those, Tau are one of those. Even Corn Demon can be one of those. Oh, the Tier 9 Flyer spam is still, or Tyrant spam is still.
I think the Corn Demon can still require a very specific build.
Yeah, I mean, but I mean, I keep bringing it up because it's done a lot better than I expected it to. That's why. I mean, Corn Demonkin is an army I've lost to regularly with my Necrons. For oddly enough, yeah. Now, I had a thought, I just completely lost it right there.
Tournaments, Corn Demonkin, all-comers lists.
I was right there.
Power Creep.
I got it, I lost it, it's gone. Ice
Okay.
cream.
So while maybe you can think about it again. So I want to actually ask a question then. So do you think with the way some of these codexes have been coming out, do you think this is a sign that we're seeing a little bit more competitive builds or a more competitive
I don't think so.
design mindset?
I don't think so.
Not at all.
Well, because it doesn't feel like it's more of a casual all-comers type of thing anymore.
I'm getting the feeling from what Games Workshop has been coming out with is that they want people to have no longer I think they've figured their general community has gotten kind of bored with I'm going to bring a large number of infantry, I'm going to bring a large number of infantry, we're going to put them in some vehicles, they're going to go head-on into each other, and let's see what the dice say. They're deciding, okay, well, we want to make it where Necrons play like you'd imagine Necrons to play in battle, where they keep dying, they keep getting back up. We want Tau to play like Tau would. They have the advanced technology, they have these fortifications that have the advantage because they're advanced enough to make it that they can move along the table and things like that. You get Corn Demonkin bringing in all their crazy stuff where it's more towards that, but instead of being like, okay, let's make it where it's a fun game and it's fair for everybody, let's make it so that the person who plays that army has fun playing that army and gets to bring all the special stuff, and they want to bring out the big guns. It's no longer let's see how the dice determine it.
Well, I think you
that's what I'm starting to get.
I'm going to say something different, and it might be exactly what you just said. The way I see it is Games Workshop is writing rules for fluff.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that what you're saying? Okay.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
I agree. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to that. But as far as the state of the game goes,
We need to balance it still.
Yeah, like
So they want to make Necrons super resilient and repairing their damage and keep on moving forward, walking slowly, holding on that trigger. We want Eldar to be really fast and Hawks doing what they're meant to do, drop bombs on flyers and jump really far. Corn should be charging forward and surging forward and doing extra attacks. So it's fluff rules. Tau has the greatest technology, the greatest guns, and that is represented on the table.
Now, are we going to start seeing then, for example, NIDS are supposed to be a crazy horde army. Are we going to start seeing like
a lower point cost and everything?
3 points a gaunt, a point a gaunt, stuff like that, where it's just like, here comes thousands of models, and yeah, you know what? All these armies now have these template weapons that are going to have no trouble taking out large number of models. Is that something
Would you be opposed to that?
No, I think that'd be awesome.
I'd feel bad for Tyranid players who have to paint up all these models.
I feel bad for every time when Matthew plays his Tyrannus, I'm playing the game against him, where he's moving a couple of models and he turns the camera off and moves the next 25, 30, and it just takes forever to move the army.
Yeah.
And it just moves up a little bit. Just moves up a little bit. It's 1,000 models to move. I don't want to play that way ever.
They almost need a special rule similar to what AdMech have with the Dune Striders, where the gaunts get like an extra 3-inch movement or something like that.
Or they get like every time they do some form of movement, whether it's moving, running, or assaulting, they get to add an extra D3 to that distance.
That'd be pretty cool.
It would just be interesting.
Maybe it would come in handy. It would definitely make charging more interesting. It would make running more interesting. You're guaranteed 2 inches on a run. And it's supposed to be these guys are fast.
Are we all in agreement, though? Games Workshop, in our opinion, our view, writes rules for fluff and not for balance?
That definitely seems to be where they're at.
I will wholeheartedly agree with that. I know back in 5th and it kind of ended pretty much at 5th, where they were writing rules for tournaments, where it was, here's everything's fair, here's this awesome new rule with its stipulation, here's this awesome thing with a rule to kind of keep you within guidelines, here's us explaining this so you don't try and do this thing that we know you're going to try and do. And then 6th edition, they were kind of like, okay, well, here's this new rule. Well, where's the stipulation of the guideline? Oh, there isn't one. And now it's becoming more of a, so then I can take this, I can take 3 of these units and treat them all as 1 unit firing, and they can all benefit from marker lights. And Games Workshop's kind of going, sure.
Why not?
So is it really power creep? It kind of is, but it kind of
Well, it's an erratic power creep.
Yeah.
Traditional power creep, we used to see, as I said earlier, we used to see codex sort of
the
one
leapfrog,
upping.
yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's a different kind of power creep pattern, where we're seeing certain armies really get those powerful things, and other armies. That's not to say that Space Marines and Dark Angels did not get good updates.
I think they did. I think they did.
But they don't have that.
Rafts and Shurians and Ravenwing, Double Jink. I mean,
Yeah, but they don't have that absolutely disturbing. We're talking about this 9 months after the fact rule upgrades.
Yeah.
That's some
Like
of these armies are getting.
I'm gonna make a prediction right now that we're gonna be talking about Tikirian until the next Necron Codex comes out.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the fact that you get essentially a 4-up Feel No Pain
Yeah.
is so good.
I'm saying
It's too
that's
good,
going to be
too
the case
good.
unless Games Workshop comes out with something that is universal for all armies that can stop that.
Well, there's Destroyer and
There's Destroyer, yeah, but the thing is, Destroyer's not.
Instant Death. I don't know. See,
Well, instant death doesn't stop it. It just makes it a little bit worse.
one.
And then, like for example, Orcs. You know how many Destroyer weapons I have?
Orcs seem
Are
like
all your chop is a destroyer weapon?
Oh, I wish.
just his soul.
Just
Every time it swings, destroys a bit of his soul.
for a
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah, the Orcs are still just drastically left behind. I don't think there's any army. Sorry, Chaos.
Yeah, Chaos Space Marines.
Sorry, I think you're in a better position than Chaos. Chaos
good.
Space Marines.
Oh,
We there?
yep,
Now
we are
we're
there.
there.
Okay.
So that is time. So guys, hopefully you enjoyed that conversation. We're going to be continuing the conversation in the Vault. If you're already a Vault member, go ahead and click that link and it'll take you to the video. If you're not a Vault member, go ahead and click that link anyway. It'll give you access to a 7-day free trial. As for the next Reroll episode, I haven't really kind of gone over it with these guys yet, but I was going to say, do you want to do a Q&A episode?
Sure.
So, that being said, guys, we're going to do a Q&A episode. So, if you have a question for any of us, or all of us, or just a general statement in general you'd like us to acknowledge, leave a comment below. If
We
you
have views on things.
we do. We have opinions.
Lots of views.
And
Steve is not opinionated that much, though.
Not at all. I'll tell you everything.
he will. So, guys, leave a question below. If you see a question that you'd like to have answered, give it a thumbs up. We'll be answering the top 10, guaranteed, and then we'll kind of scatter through the rest, do it almost like Matt Sit and Talk.
Do our best to get through them all.
Yeah,
We'll try.
We ramble. But again, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for watching. Go ahead and click that link below, and happy wargaming.